Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome back to our second Final Fantasy XIV forum crawl. A couple months ago, I made a video where I went on the official Final Fantasy XIV forums, looked in general discussion, and pulled up a few posts to discuss whatever they were talking about. The plan for the video was to, well, dread our experience and time there, because, well, general discussion forums for Final Fantasy XIV are regularly regarded as that thing Mufasa warned Simba about at the beginning of The Lion King. However, we found just a few posts and they were all pretty well thought out, well put together, and were criticizing general aspects of the game that felt completely fair, whether or not you agreed with them. So I wanted to do a second video like that. We're starting off the new year strong, so why not start off with some general discussion forums? So with that, I'm going to find some hot topic posts and we are going to get to discussing them. All right, we started off with a bit of a shot out of a hot cannon with this one. Is there a way to make Eureka bold, not well, the whole thing is bolded, so I'll just count that as double bolded, I'm assuming. Very aggressive introduction, and it had freshly hit the hot spot. I refreshed, and this had become a hot topic between me starting the recording of this video and actually being able to click on it. I am 8 cards away from getting the triple triad mount, and they're all gated behind Eureka. I tried. I really did. But it's just so soul-sucking to run. I only made it to level 16 before calling it quits. I ran all of Bosha, no problem, even had some fun doing it. But Eureka is just utterly devoid of anything remotely enjoyable. What we have here is a classic case of just not for me-ism. I'm sure that the way it's presented comes off and offends people who enjoy Eureka, but I think we can all to some degree relate to that sort of almost aggressive dislike of some things, almost seemingly for no reason, or not for no reason, but for reasons that feel exaggerated. We've all done it with some game or something we don't like here or there, and that's just how this one is presented. But there is fortunately an answer to this particular request, in that you can get through all of Eureka without actually making the weapon by just doing the challenge logs every week. So if you do not enjoy the content, but you at least want to progress through it to get to your triple triad cards, that is a bare minimum thing you can do. If you have a couple of free company mates that you can do it with, that just makes it all the better, especially if they've already gone through it and can just help propel you that extra bit. Will it take a while? Sure. If you're already there for challenge logs, might you go out of your way to visit some notorious monsters or get some EXP off the mobs you're actually killing? Absolutely. So you can definitely push through if need be, but that doesn't mean I don't entirely disagree with this either. There are still things that would make Eureka better, things that I feel like we were supposed to get. They mentioned some changes that were still going to come in Endwalker, and I swear we haven't seen them yet, so still got to keep an eye out for that. Now, before we go on to a new topic, I saw this post just about 3 posts down. We don't need to really check out the whole thing, but petition to add Eureka level sync. And it even says it's in reply to the Why Eureka Sucks video. So Eureka requires you to grind enemies over and over again to gain consistent experience. Yes, you have notorious monsters. Yes, you have the challenge log, but it was built with the idea that you were going to be doing this thing. Now, I have said that it needs a level sync for quite some time, and it needed it as early as the release of Pagos, where it was already a pretty grueling grind at the time, something that you could enjoy, but quite personally, I didn't. And, you know, as my friends would play a little longer than me and get ahead of me, I'd have to find entirely different groups to level with, and the quality of those is as you'd expect with any pickup group in any content. So a level sync would resolve a lot of those issues, and while it's less important now, why not? You know, if we have the technology to do it here, it can be incorporated into future content as well. So I feel that the development of this is also for the betterment of the future features the game may have. Might I also recommend my Eureka video, which has me getting it done in, I want to say like 40 hours total, which, you know, is 40 hours still a lot if you're someone who's playing casually, but, you know, it's there in case anyone wants it. All right, the second thread that we saw that's a brand new topic, respect the pull timer. This one has 74 total posts, and it just says, it doesn't matter what boss you are doing. If somebody starts a pull timer, respect it. Some people like to optimize rotations. Waiting 15 seconds for the tank to pull isn't going to kill you. Pulling before the tank certainly will. That depends on the fight, most content, no, it won't. And that's, part of the reason why people do it. Dungeons, go ahead, bring the trash to me. I'll tank it. But if you're going to pre-pull in raid and trial, I can and will let you die. Okay, the last point clearly kind of nails it down to more serious end game content and people who are incapable of following that. And I don't think it's a matter of the people who pull, at the 2-second mark or the 1-second mark because they're like inching forward and they pull a little bit, or maybe somebody accidentally right clicks a boss. Never done that as a fizz ranged. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, in serious endgame content, yes, absolutely adhere to it, because you can absolutely throw off everybody's rhythm for the entirety of the fight. And unfortunately, Endwalker is designed with such a rhythm in mind that throwing off those first 5 to 10 seconds of the fight can genuinely ruin the rest of somebody's pull. So you really don't want to do that. As someone who's currently going back to Dancer for the next ultimate, I've had to deal with in prep, 7-second pull times, 10-second pull times, 5-second pull times. And the way that my rotation has to pan out across the rest of the fight is always a little bit different every time. And sometimes it can be really inconvenient depending on the boss timing. So yes, I understand that in less serious content, people kind of jump ahead, but what's the rush? Do you really need the extra 15 seconds that you're saving by pulling early? Do you really need it? So yeah, no, I'm totally on the side of the poster here. Oh boy, this one is a fun topic. Content geared towards free companies. Any plans to ever incorporate group content based on free companies banding together to tackle content as a group? FCs kind of feel like social groups more than real guilds. Just my 2 gil. And you know what? You will find a lot of other people share that 2 gil. Final Fantasy XIV at the beginning of A Realm Reborn felt more like this because people were pulling their experiences from previous MMOs, whether they were coming over from World of Warcraft, coming over from Final Fantasy XI, or returning from 1.0. The idea of largely guild or free company driven events was just the norm. So it was kind of forced. If you were in a guild or you were in a free company, you were raiding with members of that free company. You were a group that represented the free company. What's happened as accessibility to other people has increased, cross server or cross, being able to just go across all the servers, all the data centers. I guess I was just about to try to name them all and tongue twist. It became less important. Groups within a free company would often have someone who wasn't in the free company, and it just went all over the place. So asking for this in particular, I think, is a perfectly fine thing to ask for. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to ask for in an MMO. But do I think it will happen? Probably not. The closest thing we've gotten in recent years really is Baldessian Arsenal and Bozja with Delubrum Regine Savage. Yeah, you could also do events together like Delubrum Regine Normal or 24-mans, on server launch day. Maybe make a weekly thing out of it. But the game largely leaves it up to you to decide to do content with your free company. So if your free company wants to organize a PvP night or a treasure map night or something like that, you absolutely can, but the game has just moved so much towards small groups or link shells doing these things and less about a central free company. It's really a buff machine / the ability to buy a house / storage with the free company chest. And honestly, I don't see them going away from that. They really want everyone to have access to everyone, and free companies are a lot more about exclusivity. But I would encourage this person to search for free companies that are active in events, because that may be just a place and a scenario that is more in tune with what they're looking for. And I promise you they are out there, even if we're not widely advertising them. All right, and I think the last one we're going to take is an interesting one. So I noticed that the original post was back in 2021 in regards to the PvP Shadow Stalker set. So the Shadow Stalker set, if memory serves, before we had the way PvP is now, there were rewards that were only available to a certain number of people per season, and this had to have been one. I'm sure it's mentioned in this because it's an old thread anyway. But it was temporarily available, so only I guess in an armor set. I think the armor set was the top 100 in every data center. Might have been. Yeah, I think it would have had to have been, because I think the mount was some seasons and there were armor sets for other seasons. Maybe the armor set was, I don't know. I didn't PvP, so I didn't really care. I just remember that stuff looked cool and I was like, that's fine, I'll never have that. But this got necroed, so I'm not just going to read the OP. I'm going to find the post that necroed this. But let's see what the original post was back in 2021. 21 at some point. Okay, why is the PvP Shadow Stalker set unavailable permanently? I need to speak to... Oh, I don't like the way this is starting already. It's also kind of cut off on the side. It's kind of weird. I don't know why this one's a little wider than all the other ones I've been capturing today, but maybe that's for the better. Let's see. There we go. Now I can grab it. I need to speak to... I'm sure a lot of you can figure out why I'm already laughing at that. I think we might have found the post, like the kind of post I was expecting when I did the video a couple of months ago. I need to speak to whoever decided that it's okay to have a piece of glamour be forever unobtainable. There are a total of 6 data centers. There's more. Well, there's more now, because now there's what we have 4 in NA. They have 2 in Europe. Did they get a 3rd? I don't remember. Listen, I've been playing other games the off season, and then Japan has 3. So we have more. We have more than that now. But I guess at the time maybe that was the case. I don't remember. So only 600 out of the 20 million, 20 plus million accounts. Yeah, there are technically that many accounts, but not that many that are actively playing. Have access to the Shadow Stalker Glamours. Some of those accounts also cheated their way to get the set. That's valid. That win trading was a big thing. Heck, I don't know how it is now because I haven't PvP'd much since season 1. For the Crystalline Conflict. It was really bad in season 1. I know they made changes, but I don't know how it is right now. It's completely unacceptable that... Oh, it bolded it and italicized it. Okay. We don't have access to all the game's content because it's time limited. This is exactly the kind of anti-consumer This isn't a real post. You know what, though? It's after the last few years... It could be a real post. I kind of refuse it. I refuse its existence in anything but like a satirical way. But I can't write it off entirely. That led to a certain MMO on the market to die. I demand that Square Enix... I demand that Square Enix release the Feast exclusive rewards in Endwalker with Wolfmarks. This was made before Endwalker, obviously. Anything before December would have been Endwalker. But I think this one's from like March or something like that. And... there's a few fair points in this. I've seen this discussion before in a different way. It's a little much to put some of these things the way that they are, but there has been some question about whether or not they will revisit the old top 100 rewards, whether they reskin them without removing the originals or leave them forever exclusive. And ask any seasoned PvPer in Final Fantasy XIV who has worked on those top 100 spots in previous seasons before the Crystalline Conflict, and they will tell you that this is the #1 thing on their mind reward structure wise is how long is it going to take before the top 100 rewards are part of a series or part of a seasonal reward or something like that. So, and it's because of sentiment like this that does exist largely in a less aggressive way, does exist inside of the community. So I'm curious if we will see that. So there are some fair points in here. But I am also a firm believer that if there's content... So first of all, on one side, if there's content I don't want to do, I don't expect to get the rewards from it ever. For me, that's just common sense. I don't craft, I don't gather. So if I... don't get one of the relic rewards, or I don't feel like I could ever compete for something like the Ishgard titles when those were new, and those were limited time as well. So another example of that, for going for like Saint of the Firmament or whatever it was, I accept that those are things that are not in my interest, even if like they kind of sound cool-ish to get at the end of the day, I won't have them. So for me, exclusivity in items is perfectly okay. If a player who subscribes to the game finds a lot of value out of this content and wants to kind of prove their mettle, I really like that players can have that thing that turns heads and makes people go, oh man, that guy was there. I mean, my most classic example is always going to be World of Warcraft's AQ40 mounts, the Karaji mount. It's always something that has been like, oh my goodness, this person was there, they did it. Maybe they bought it a little bit to get it. You don't know the story behind every single mount, but you understand my point. I actually think it's something that's pretty cool. So when I see someone in the Shadow Stalker set, I know they've been around. When I see people in old Feast season, titles, when I see somebody who actually has the title for someone who went to FanFest and competed, I think that's awesome. I'm like, oh man, that's somebody who was on stage at FanFest or like competed. Awesome. And they're on the other team, my team. I'm not thinking, wish I could get that title. Too bad it's exclusive and limited to people who are playing in a competitive manner, like who are really high up in the competitive manner. So now actually though, now that I've gotten my piece out about the actual post, let me find the post that necroed it and we'll cap off with that. Okay, so I found the post. It was on page 14. And it seems the original post was from August of 2021. And then there were like some posts that were from like November of 2021. And then it jumped ahead and it says, I know this is an old thread, but it's funny how you complained about something. Okay, I gotta ask, I despise like trolling around forums and like looking through them and finding. How do you, if you are in the comment section and you regularly necro or find old threads to bring back up to the surface, which is what necroing is, how and why? What gets you there? What drives you to find it? Because I don't know what it is. Okay, I know this is an old thread, but it's funny how you complain about something easy to get. Sorry that PvP is not your thing, but that's why it's exclusive for it. I'm not willing to craft ever. Oh, did I post this? This is saying what I'm saying. I don't craft ever. There are mounts I'll never get because I refuse to craft. You don't see me crying about it. It's a choice I made. Don't cry about a choice you make of not wanting to PvP. I don't think the original post really cried about not wanting to PvP. It was not being able to be top 100 or not even having played potentially. Like it didn't actually say if it was even a serious post, because I don't trust that it was. It doesn't say what about the unavailability they didn't like, not what content it was. I think it was just the sheer fact that only 600 people could have possibly had it at the time. So I don't think that's even what the original post was about. I'm sure eventually Square will give in like they always do to underachievers. Oh, that sounds like me with decent thing when I was like, yeah, I've got my decent max. I've got the 3 that I want the most max, and I make so much money because nobody wants to do it. Then they made it super available, and I'm like, my money. How could they do this? I'm sure one day it will be a reward in a MOG event. No, at least the PvP. Come on, we got series rewards and stuff, and it's too bad too. Yeah, so this is kind of the other side. I kind of teetered on a statement like this, but I just think it's cool that people can have things that other people don't have because they've put in a lot of effort and they've done it in a timely fashion. I mean, at the end of the day, they're pixels. So I would never get so upset. Like maybe like ironically overreacted, like YouTube style upset that I couldn't obtain something that was in the game before. But at the same time, I'm logical enough to know that if I'm playing the game wasn't important to me back then, why is the fact that I play it now mean that I should have that thing? So I'm always going to be on that side, whether it means I can't have something or it means that I have something. There's very few things that I think I have that would qualify. And the one I have that is like my favorite thing is my world-class troller title. And that's not limited time in any capacity, you know? So, but either way, yeah, that's just where I'm at with this. The Necrode thing was just kind of the points I was already making to a degree. All right, and that's going to do it for our forum crawl. You know, the last one was kind of funny, but again, it's interesting seeing that the general discussion forums do actually have some pretty good original posts mixed in with a few troll ones. But I'm sure if I scrolled through the comments, it might not be so kind. And I think that's the thing I really dread doing. I would also dread adding something to the discussion because of those same threads. Because I'm sure there are some very passionate individuals in the responses to that last thread in particular. And maybe even the first one regarding Eureka. But either way, that's what's going on the general discussion forums in Final Fantasy XIV right now. I can't wait to see the Paladin threads starting next week. I'm sure they're going to be very constructive and fun. But with that, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. I'm sure we'll do more of these in 2023. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.